Good morning from beautiful Brisbane, Australia, and welcome, Conscious Warriors, to another day, another morning, another session in the Academy. My name's Linda. I'm your certified trauma recovery coach, and together we do life consciously. If you're here for the first time, welcome, and it's great to have you with us and join in our class. And if you'd like to join in our global family, jump into group, because we love being the support and cheer squad for each other as we go through the journey. And we do get to know each other globally and online and do things like enjoy online parties together and so much more. If you're here and you're our normal class members, welcome. It's great to have you here. And it's been a really, really wonderful year getting to know more and more of you who are aiming to break free from complex PTSD. Good morning, Michelle. It's wonderful to have you here this morning. So it's Christmas Eve down under. Obviously, the Northern Hemisphere won't have reached Christmas Eve yet, but we've reached Christmas Eve here. And we're all going to be challenged one way or another. We're either going off to see our families and it's going to provide a challenge, or we're not going off to see our families, and depending how far along we are with that process, it may or may not provide a challenge for us. For me, it's been a lot of years since I basically, walked out the front door and said, no more, I'm not doing this anymore, because there's no two-way discussions as adults. There's all the unspoken, the non-verbal things that I was expected to comply with. And believe me, there was a whole bunch of non-verbal stuff that I had no clue about as well. It was just crazy-making situation. And, one of the hardest challenging parts is that these people can seem quite normal to everybody else. But we can go through a process of becoming our authentic self. We can then go into a process of understanding and forgiveness if we choose. And then we can go into a place where we can actually call in and say g'day every now and then. And that's enough. And that's where I'm at now. I just call in once every few years and say g'day, and that's about it. Because I've got a full life without putting up with drama. I just won't do it anymore. Sometimes it comes up, but I just won't consciously choose to go back into drama. I won't do it. I want to be able to have relationships. There's always going to be challenges in relationships. There's no two ways around it. But the people that we do choose to have in our lives are the ones that we'll choose to have, and it is a choice to have the conversations with us when things crop up and, we have a difference of opinion. And the funny thing was, yesterday in group, the question was actually asked, and I was thinking about how to put this across in a presentation to help us, is what do we do? How do we start having these conscious conversations? Because we're not trained to do it and we're not raised to do it. And then I realised that what we need to do is put aside everything we have learned and say, I'm here with an open heart. And what I practice with my sons in particular, my daughter's overseas. So my two adult sons, this is how we go about having conscious conversations. So one of the recent ones was I was taking my youngest son to the doctor's appointment, and I'm asking him questions and I'm not getting an answer that I want, as in he's not responding to my questions in a way that makes any sense to me. And I'm getting frustrated, and I'm sitting there, driving obviously, and he said, are you angry? And for the first time in my life I said, yes, I am. I said, but I'm not angry at you. I'm angry because I'm not getting the answers that I need, and I'm finding it really hard. And so I spoke about how I felt, and it wasn't pointed at him. So it's not just I statements. So, it can get a bit clinical if we all go in and we all say I. what we don't do is point our fingers at the other person, but we do talk about how I'm feeling. And we've had a number of these conversations, and it works both ways. So he sits and he listens to what's happening for me internally, and I can be real and authentic with him because I know that he's not going to turn around and say nothing. All right, the worst anyone can ever do is say nothing. You've just poured out your heart and been vulnerable, and for someone to say nothing or stonewall you or turn around and say, you're got the problem, not them, it means that they haven't listened, they haven't heard us. And so I do the same for my sons. As I said, they're adult sons. When they've got something going on internally for them, they'll come and say to me, Mum, I just need to sit and talk. And I just listen, and I don't try and solve anything, and they don't try and solve my stuff. And then together, because we've listened authentically, it's not about who's right or who's wrong. All of that old stuff goes out the window. And what happens is, because you can be authentic about what's happening for you internally, you can actually feel kindness and compassion and empathy for each other. And there's this connection happens where it doesn't matter who's right or wrong. It goes out the window. And what happens is, if there's something that needs to be done, especially with Nick and I, because he lives in another part of the house, but downstairs, we'll get up and we just do it. We just just make it happen. Or we make an appointment, we've got to do something, and we just make it happen. It ceases to be about, has anyone not done something or done something. It becomes more about having a connection with each other that makes us just work together. So, if we think about in group, we say together we can. And over this year, quite a number of people in the group have begun to break free from not talking and starting to connect in group with other people and then connect outside of group. And that's what we need to do. We need to be willing to do this. And Michelle, you're right. Michelle said, I find it frightening, the fear of rejection. And you know what? The first time I was ever able to vocalise that I felt angry, I said to Nick, that's the first time in my life that I've ever verbalised to a man that I felt angry and this is what was happening. I said, because in the past, no one's ever listened to me. And I don't say that from a woe is me. It just was what it was. And so you learn, even as an adult, to say, what's the point of saying something? Because if I say something, then I either get stonewalled or I get told I'm wrong or there's no solution. There's no adult discussion happening. And when that happens, it's heartbreaking for us. And goodness only knows what it's like for them, that they don't have the ability or the willingness to start having those conversations with us. And it's having a willingness that even if we stuff it up, it doesn't matter. And it's been a slow process for me to open up. One time before this, there was this one time, and we'd been shopping and I was tired, and we had a routine where we go, okay, we go and do the shopping, and then if it's late Friday night, we'll go and get takeaway and bring it home, unpack the shopping, and then eat dinner. And I was just an emotional mess. And Nick just listened and he said to me, Mum, you've got to talk it out. If you don't talk it out, then it's going to make it worse for you. And I just sat there and went, who are you and where did you come from? That, a young man would say to me that, just get it out, will you? And you know what? Through all of that, I was able to say, this is what's happened for me. This is what you were doing when we went shopping. This is how I looked at it. And together, we worked out, both of us, where we needed to modify our behaviours. And it wasn't a big deal. It was just the fact that we needed to talk about it. And you're right, Michelle, fear of confrontation, absolutely. But as adults, we acknowledge that we have these fears. Like, I'm absolutely terrified to say something because I have a fear of confrontation. But as adults, the only way through it is to do it, okay? The only way through it is to be willing to have the courage to have the conversations, because once we make it through one, we know that we'll make it through alive into the next one. Does that make sense? So we've got to have these experiences so that we know that we're safe. We're rewiring our brain. We're teaching our brain, the primitive part of our brain, that we can manage this situation even if we're highly emotional or upset. And then next time we're prepared to try again. And one night, oh my goodness, poor Nick. He's a legend, I tell you. One night, I can't even remember how it happened, and he just said something to me, and he said, well, I say that to you so you can see, where you're vulnerable, your faults are, or some, I can't remember the wording that he said. And I just turned around and I said, I'm 54 years of age. I've been running around my whole life picking on myself for all my faults. I do not need a 21-year-old telling me what my faults are. I said we need compassion and caring and concern for each other and build each other up. I said because we have this amazing capacity when we've been through trauma to tear ourselves down. And you know what? He sat there and he listened through it all, and together we worked out where to go from here. It was the first time in my life I'd actually ever spoken up in that manner, saying, no, this is who I am, I know where I'm at, I know where I'm going, and this is what we need as human beings so that we don't treat each other, in his words, because he's very smart, we don't treat each other in a toxic manner. And I sat there and I went, he's amazing. He's just an amazing young man. And I went, you're right. We can't treat each other in a toxic manner. And so it's that willingness to come together and listen to each other. And sorry girls, the internet just went on the blitz. So it was just like Shazam, it went. And now we're back. Okay, so when we're willing to have these real and raw conversations and we start off, there's going to be hurt hearts. But if we're willing to have one person listening and one person talking, then one person listening and one person talking, then it's going to work out, because we're going to sit and really authentically hear what the other person's saying. We're not trying to solve a problem. We're there to listen. If you come out of listening to someone and then you try to provide a solution, you say, oh, well, you're right about this or wrong about that, or you're right or you're wrong, then the minute you say something like that is the minute that person knows that the only thing you were doing was listening with the intent to correct them. And we don't want any of that. We want to listen with the intent to hear someone's heart, to connect with them at a heart level, and to know that when we do that and they do that for us, and learn the language of, okay, I'm really uncomfortable with this at the moment. I don't know how I'm going to process it. Maybe I need some time out to go and process it or think about it. And honestly, if you've got guys in your life, they take longer than us to process things, and we have to be willing to give them that space to process it. Us, my sons, I'm still a work in progress, okay? I really am, because I forget and then I go, oh, that's right. They take longer to think about things because they think about it in a whole different way than we do. Sorry, got the itches this morning. So I want you to take some time out and give yourself the gift this Christmas of patience in your own heart and patience for those around you, and start talking about how you're feeling, even if it is the fear of rejection or the fear of having the first conversation. then that's okay. If as far as you get is, I need to have a conversation about how I'm feeling, but I'm afraid to have that conversation, then you've started to break free. You've started to break the chains that you need to break in order to get into the next layer upon layer. So remember the onion, how it's so multi-layered and multifaceted. That's what these conversations start out like. So even though I've given you examples of myself with the boys, our conversations didn't start off just flowing and listening. We worked on it to work out what worked for us, okay? And I know that you can do this too. And that's right, Ali, we do. We need to have a goal that we're going to, not only are we going to be willing to have the conversations, the hard conversations, but we're going to be willing to sit down and take the time to have them. That we need the gift of giving ourselves time to sit down and mull it out. And don't go into this conversation with, how do we say, like, we have the capacity to go into these conversations as women with all the solutions sorted out. If you're doing that, you're going in at a mental level, and that's not what you want. You want to get into that place of vulnerability in your heart. And even if your significant other doesn't have the ability to respond just yet, love on them and say, it's okay. This is new for us. We're going to work it through, and we're going to work out how to do it one step at a time if that's what it takes. Because if anyone on this planet needs some hope and encouragement when it comes to emotions, it's our men, okay? Because they, even less than us, need help with their emotions. One of my best friends is a male, and he said to me, half the time we as men don't even know what we're feeling, okay? So we're fortunate that we get when I say the word ahead, I don't mean, we're streets ahead and whoa, we're hot, we're good. I mean, we manage to get ahead being women in touch with what's happening internally for us because we have so many things going on. But guys can often be left without the language. So even if you both sit down and, it's not all serious, have a laugh sometimes as well. We certainly do that in this household. The guys have some pretty standard jokes about their mum too. And it can be fun as well, and that's being vulnerable also. All right? I want to wish you all the most beautiful, beautiful Christmas, no matter what you're doing. I'll be around in and out of group on Christmas Day, mainly because I'll be at home feeding my boys and we'll be playing games together. So I'll check in on you all and see how you're going. And I want to hope that you'll check in if you need to. All right? If you need to, then there'll be someone around, because sometimes we just need to check in and say g'day. Have a gorgeous Christmas day, and we'll start working towards the one next thing that we want to achieve in our new year shortly. All right. Catch you later.